Hello everyone, this is the finale of What If Naruto Had a Hug That Changed Everything, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Meanwhile, the still tear-streaked Tsunade stared unto the ice peak that Nekoshi now stood upon. If what you say is true, then when you leave this realm, you will know the meaning of tea, he said with the open cold carrying his echo clearly. Though she was far from both her master and her old comrade, Shizune heard those words too, but she was completely lost on the subject. You'll reap the fruits of your selfishness, and experience yet another loss, unless you let it go, Nekoshi stated as his presence began to fade. Tsunade-san. Shizune-chan. Fare thee well. And with that echoing goodbye, the black-hearted warrior's form meshed into nothingness, thus causing the icy terrain to break apart and distort. Within a matter of seconds, both women were back at Konoha, inside the Hokage's office. Through the days of being hoisted back to normal plane, Shizune spotted her master in the same spot behind her desk since Nekoshi's untimely arrival. Tsunade-sama, she gasped. By this time, Tsunade's tears were dried, mostly due to the cold, and barely noticeable as glistening streaks on her face. Shizune stood to her feet and stared at her master with great concern. She concluded that whatever Tsunade and Nekoshi talked about, it was more than enough to move her to painful grief. She could see it on her face. Suna, I can't. Shizune tilted her head slightly at the sudden remark. I can't do it. I can't let him win. Not again. Feeling her heart start to burn within her chest, Tsunade frowned deeply as she remembered Nekoshi's words. I've already lost one, no thanks to him. I won't lose this one too. With a renewed conviction surging through her, Tsunade vaulted over her desk, and charged out of the office. Concluding that any rash decisions would probably be bad at this point, Shizune called after her master on deaf ears. Now going more worried, the brunette Kunoichi charged after Tsunade, who on the verge of barging out of the central building exit. Wait for me, Naruto, she inwardly pleaded. Once she plowed the double doors open, she was greeted with the usual, the burst of wind and the glare from the sun. What she didn't expect was a savagely wild blonde lunging through the air, with rending kunai in hand, only a few short feet away from her. Able to instantly possess what she was seeing, her mind was racing at an incalculable pace as she stared into the inhumanely dilated eyes of the roaring Naruto, flabbergasted in a way that caused time to pump the brakes. Through her blurry daze, Tsunade could also hear the alarmed cries of her name, or shinobi class, as the case may be. Is this Naruto? The distance between the two was getting frightfully close. No. Am I too late? Reaching a suitable distance, Naruto readied to tear into the F of his target, that is until a hand wielding a powerful Rasengan burst into the fray, blasting into the boy's side, hurling him away from Tsunade and straight into a Nibi building. The hazel-eyed female was shaken out of her daze by the sudden action, and turned to her right side only to see her old teammate. Jiraiya, where the hell have you been? The white-haired toad sage gave Tsunade a slight sneer. Well, after Gigi found me and helped realign my hip thanks to someone I could mention, I went looking for you. Seems my timing was impeccable. Tsunade didn't say anything as she reverted her stare to the building that the crazed Naruto was knocked into. Tsunade, you know what has happened, don't you? Jiraiya questioned knowing. When he heard nothing but silence, he sighed. It can't be helped, we have to incarcerate him, Tsunade. Jumping within the fray at that moment, Shizune joined the pair, alarmed and ready for anything, or so she thought. I see. So it's already begun, she thought. The ground rumbled from beneath them as they heard the vicious roars of Naruto. Erupting from the ceiling and onto the roof, the bloodthirsty blonde stood upon the building, staring down at his target. Must terminate, he grumbled. Haruno household. Heartbroken and empty inside, the drab and spritless Sakura Haruno sat in her upstairs bedroom, curled into her little, thinking ball. Her experience that day was positively overwhelming, making her doubly grateful that her mother wasn't there to ask how it was. If that had been the case, she probably would have started crying all over again. Every time she thought about all of the different ways to show Naruto what had been going on since his absence, her heart would be constantly espered by that biting guilt, the guilt of not thinking of any of her actions thoroughly. I should have never been so reckless, Sakura thought outwardly, now he probably never wants to see me again. Despite her obvious predicament, the pink-haired kunoichi could help but smile bitterly at how things in her life couldn't be any more perfect, and then the instant later, everything goes to s. She heavily questioned if this was what life was all about, to lose everything that makes it all worthwhile. Without the energy to even budge from her current spot, Sakura remained in her curled position as she sat on her soft bed, allowing her mind to wander freely. That is, until her thoughts were thrown off by a sharp and sudden noise. Whipping her head toward the window, Sakura groaned with slight irritation as she rose from her bed. Once she looked out the window, she cringed even further. Sigh. Ino-chan, she sighed out of wind. Noticing the platinum blonde juggling another readied stone to throw, Sakura decided that it would be best to see what she wanted before her window was shattered. As she ventured to the mid-level of her home, the silence made her shiver slightly. Ignoring it as best she could, Sakura made her way to the door. However, just before she turned the knob, she instantly turned around and was shocked to see someone else in her home, staring directly at her. What the? Who are you? How did you get in here? She barked instinctively. DRD behind the shadows, the intruder simply stood there, silent. Not liking the vibe that her unwanted guest was giving out, Sakura withdrew her kunai knife from her leg holster. You have until I count to 3, to get the hell of this house, she threatened boldly. Instead of the desirable compliance, the shadowed intruder slowly approached Sakura, without fear of any kind. 1. As the intruder approached, the light slowly uncovered his features, revealing all of the weapons that he possessed. T2. Still no response, only that ominous advance. By this time, the number 3 would have been shouted and Sakura would have fulfilled her promise and attacked, but she couldn't bring herself to do either as she discovered the identity of her guest. Hesitating, the pink-haired kunoichi's hands began to shake as her grip upon her weapon weakened. N.A., she stammered. I've been looking for you. Sakura-chan, he hissed. Still shaking, Sakura resheathed her weapon. Naruto, why you scared the hell out of me? What are you doing here? Ha! She saw the massive dilation in the blonde Genin's eyes. What am I doing here? With her guard lowered even in the slightest, she was completely unable to contradict an unexpected attack. Without warning or remorse, Naruto zipped forward and rammed the back of Sakura's head onto the door, pinning her in place. Yelping in both pain and surprise, the jade-eyed female grasped Naruto's forearm, trying to release his GS. Ya! Naruto. What are you ngh? What are you doing? She shrieked. HNNNNN. Returning the favor. Sweet Sakura-chan. Confusion plagued the young kunoichi's mind as she was trying to figure out what was going on. But as she stared hopelessly into Naruto's eyes with fear, her basic instinct was screaming at her to get away somehow. Once again withdrawing her kunai, the panicking Sakura pointed it directly at her unlikely attacker in the hopes that he would back off, but she once again hesitated. Cut me! Naruto hissed. Trembling even harder, Sakura began to sweat heavily and her hand shook more and more. No. Then why don't I? Slapping an unbreakable grip upon the hand that held the kunai, Naruto locked Sakura's hand with a vice GS. The frightened Rosette put up a rather pathetic resistance against this assault, due to her inability to comprehend why it was happening. Unfortunately, her lack of rebellion would prove to be quite fatal, as Naruto shifted the blade's point towards its wielder. NGH. Naruto, stop it. This isn't funny. Stop, she shrieked. Not even thinning his efforts, the mouse Naruto continued to push the kunai toward Sakura. Within seconds, the blade was only inches from the frightened girl's end, which Naruto fully exposed as he bent her head back. Her eyes trembled wildly and her mind went into overdrive. Reflexive tears burst from her eyes, and her terrified sights glued onto Naruto, who was focused heavily on his point of attack. The kunai reached ever closer to its destination. No. I don't understand, Sakura sniveled. Very soon, you will. Everyone will. The sly point of the kunai was now pressing against Sakura just a slight angle beside the airway, and still advancing. Please, stop. I'm so sorry for what I did. I didn't mean to. Please forgive me. Please, Naruto, she pleaded through her fearful sobs. It was a real shame. Naruto's persona was cold and pitiless. Quote. No, he whispered. Sakura could now feel cold hard steel begin to penetrate her skin, slowly. Restrictions dammed to the winds, Naruto continued his advance, ever so slowly driving the knife into his victim's end. Sakura's cries became frantic and desperate as she continued her fruitless efforts to resist this brutality. Everything suddenly hit her at once. She was before Naruto, she was going to and he was the one who was going to do it. Adrenaline tore through her like a drill through wet sand as it all started to take its toll. Her mind began to race even harder, even as every moment that she had ever experienced flashed before her eyes. Her childhood, her moments with family, her moments with her team, her moments with Ino, her moments with Naruto. Why you're not Gar? Sakura's words soon turned to howls of tea as the kunai dug even deeper into her with that same slow and dreadful pace. Blood trickled out of the wound as the sound of splitting apart assaulted the hollows of the room. Suffer, with only white clouding her vision, Sakura's heart rate soared because of all of her adrenaline, thus inadvertently pushing her efforts above and beyond to keep the knife from penetrating any further. Suddenly, an incessant knocking came from behind the door that Sakura was pinned to. Sakura-chan. Sakura-chan, what's going on in there? The distressed Ino called out, much to Naruto's displeasure. Obstacle, he murmured before spitting out what little of the kunai that was torn into Sakura's and tossing her behind him. Like a rhyme without a reason, laughing face, Naruto flipped the knife to the air and caught it, holding it in reverse. From behind the door, a startled Ino had her ear pressed upon the wood, trying very hard to make out the noise she was hearing. She was startled further when she heard a pained Sakura yelling. No, Naruto, don't. Just then, the bladed edge of a bloody kunai burst from the door, only mere centimeters from Ino's head. The platinum blonde froze in place as she blankly stared onto the blade that nearly impaled her. It was only when the kunai was pulled back, did Ino manage to shake out of it in time, and push herself off of the door, before the same weapon threw again, this time, missing the center of her face. Startled beyond words, the turquoise-eyed blonde stumbled back and fell on her bottom, trembling. What the? Behind the hole that was just made from the sudden attack, was the crazed eye of the one responsible. He hissed menacingly. The wooden door was suddenly kicked open and split into pieces. Ino shielded her eyes from the splinters, before laying them upon him. Naruto-kun. What are you doing? She asked with confusion plain on her face. Did you do that? Unresponsive to the questions, Naruto dropped the bloody kunai on the ground as he continued to glare at Ino, much to her discomfort and my serious fear. He reached for the sword sheathed on his side. Scurrying back a bit more, the heavily confused Ino stared at Naruto in search of what he was feeling. All she could feel was a lust for death. Suddenly she noticed something behind Naruto. When she took a closer look, she saw Sakura crawling on her hands and knees trying to get to them. She also noticed the bleeding gash on her Sakura-chan. Who did that to you? Though her mind was perfectly capable of putting two and two together, Ino simply didn't want to see the answer. Hat was right in front of her. She peered up at Naruto, who continued to advance with sword in hand. Ino's facial features portrayed what she was feeling at that very moment quite well, as tears of grief and confusion rolled down her eyes. Naruto-kun, she choked. Now standing over the stunned Ino, Naruto lifted his sword overhead, readying a sly slash. You can't. Naruto-kun, Ino whispered. Sakura watched in horror as she was about to witness a precious person struck down by another. She inwardly screamed at her body to unfreeze and move, but no matter how hard she tried, she could only be paralyzed by her own fear. Stop it, Sakura pleaded. It made no difference, Naruto was now ready to execute. Naruto, stop it, stop it, stop it. Suddenly, from out of nowhere, Naruto's eyes flashed red before he exhaled a screechy howl. Without any visible rhyme or reason, he jumped over the frightened Ino, and sprinted away into the distance. Frozen in place, the minds of both females were awfully boggled beyond belief. Everything that had just happened stuck with them and turned their brains into jelly, but only for a moment. Sakura-chan. Ino yelled before shooting off of her feet and to her fallen companion, you're hurt. No, it's just a wound. We have to go after My ass, it's AF wound. Stay here, Ino commanded before running into the house too. Not feeling like putting up any argument, Sakura did as she was told and stayed put, but her mind would be allowed to wander at another time. Sakura, came a familiar voice from her flank. Turning her attention to the source, Sakura saw her former crush, Sasuke, dashing toward her. Sasuke-kun, she whispered. Once stopped before his teammate, the raven-haired Uchiha knelt down to offer any aid. What happened, Sakura? Was Naruto here? Did he do this? All of those questions were indeed easy to answer, but all they did was make Sakura burn and ache inside. Choking back her sobs as best she could, Sakura nodded as she stared into the ground. Kuso, can you stand? Sasuke asked. The pink-haired female gave her teammate a physical answer as she stand right to her feet. What's going on, Sasuke-kun? I don't understand any of this. Though Sasuke was partly focused on the bleeding wound, he opted to answer. I don't know. Everything seemed to be fine until I saw hordes of Naruto's clones sing innocent people, he said. Sakura's heart strained at hearing that. Naruto. Sing innocence. And no, there must be some mistake. He wouldn't. What are you talking about? Is there something else that you know? Sasuke questioned. Sakura tangled her hands into her glossy pink hair as her mind continued to race. I don't know. Something isn't right. Are they even his clones? Maybe someone else is. No, Sakura, it's him. Down to the last fiber, the young genin downheartedly insisted, these eyes don't lie. The pink-haired Kunoichi defiantly shook her head in denial. No, I can't accept that. This is his home. He'd never do this to the people he loves, she adamantly defended, despite the warm tears building under her eyes. Though he felt for his fellow shinobi, Sasuke knew that he couldn't allow his hands to be teed. Sigh. We don't have time for this, Saku. Okay, I've got the Sasuke-kun. Ino emerged from Sakura's house carrying first aid material. With not enough time to fill the other girl in, Sasuke prepared to leave. Sakura, fill Ino in on what's happening. I'm gonna go help everyone with whatever's going on. Wait, I'm going with you, Sakura protested. Like hell, you are. You're still hurt. Ino-chan, there's no time to argue. We have tea. My thoughts exactly, Ino shouted before taking the rosette by the shoulders and promptly forcing her to sit on the ground, taking the opportunity to treat the wound. Now sit down, and shut up. Both Sakura and Sasuke were taken by surprise by Ino's sudden dominant attitude. While one was staring into her eyes with awe, the other was a little more focused on the task at hand. Okay then, when you two are finished, follow me, I'll mark my path so you can. Ino temporarily ceased her treatment as she noticed Sasuke's sudden pause. So we can what? Shush. Listen, can you hear that? Confused, both Ino and Sakura opened their ears. Hear what? They asked simultaneously. Exactly, it's too quiet all of a sudden. The two females traded worried glances toward each other, then one to Sasuke, who abruptly dashed off to check it out. Sasuke-kun, wait for us, Sakura called out before her shoulders were pushed down, keeping her in place. I said stay put, Ino shouted. But we can't do. Glare. Eep. With establishment of choices finally set, Sakura remained perfectly still so Ino could finish treating her wound, and because she feared for her life. She couldn't lie, a part of her wanted to slap Ino so hard, her mother would feel it, but she also knew that she only did it because she cared, a lot. Sakura continued to stare into her partner's eyes, as awestruck as ever. It was at that moment, did Sakura remember what she had said to Ino at the Chunin Stadium, further complicating matters further. By the time Sakura had realized it, Ino was finished tending to her wound, her end now complemented with bandages. There we are, all better. Sakura broke eye contact as she caressed her end. Thanks, she mumbled. Sure. No problem, Ino responded with a dull tone. They both rose to their feet, their eye contact still broken as a cloud of silence suffocated them. In time, Ino looked up at her fellow Kunoichi and tried hard to see her eyes clearly, but she was obviously still lost. Sakura-chan, did you really mean? Let's go. We have to go find and help the others, Sakura interjected before hastily dashing off in the direction that Sasuke did. With her words left hanging in the air, a dejected Ino lowered her head in disappointment, glaring into the wall of the Haruno home. This isn't over forehead, not if I have any say in the matter. With that, Ino turned on her heel, and dashed off in the same direction as the others. With her pace gradually increasing, she intended to at least catch up to Sakura. When she was within eyeshot of her, Ino noticed that she had taken it to the rooftops. Once the platinum blonde jumped up with her, her pace continued to increase, that is until she felt a droplet of liquid hit her cheek. Confused, at first, as to where it came from, Ino wiped the wet spot off of her face and stared at her hand, then another one hit her forehead. Ino peered straight ahead of her and finally saw the source of the droplets, as several of them seemed to be spaying from Sakura. She realized, right then and there, that her companion was torn apart by what had just happened, not to mention what was happening between the two of them. Ino's heart wrecked. Oh, Sakura-chan. Central building. He appears to be changing, Jiraiya stated as he watched Naruto from afar. Still glaring at Tsunade with an unshakable desire for her death, Naruto's features spontaneously began to change. His hair became more fural, his canines nearly doubled in size, and his whiskers became denser and more noticeable. As if things weren't bad enough, he was becoming cubified. His eyes remained as they were, inhumanely dilated, giving him a crazed animalistic look. Like a shark that had inhaled the scent of blood, he now had only his goal in mind and spirit, his prey. The sensation of two different auras, other than his own, tore through his body, causing him nothing but more pain. He growled at the feeling, cursing it and embracing it all at the same time. The power of one tenant and the hatred of another threatened to tear his mind to shreds, all of the strength, all of the perspective, it was beginning to take its toll. But it mattered not. The only aspect of the experience that mattered to the twisted Naruto was the commands of the voices that still pleaded his fitch. Obey your master. Tsunade, Shizune and Jiraiya, along with the three Jonin who stood their ground at the bottom of the stairs that led to the building's entrance, witnessed Naruto's transformation, once again assaulted by an even stronger king intent. Suddenly, Kakashi's radio buzzed, gaining his immediate response. This is Kakashi. What's the matter? What do you mean? The gon. Strange. Okay, stay sharp out there, it could be a trap. Roger that. Keep me posted. What's the problem? Guy questioned. Apparently, the clones retreated. Anko's brow batted slightly. Retreated, eh? I don't buy that for a second. Something's up, she thought suspiciously. With the tension riding as high as ever, Shizune continued to study Naruto alongside her superior, fretting over what more the twisted blonde could be capable of. But then she realized something. NGH. This isn't right, she said out of the blue. Gaining the attention of the two Sannin, Shizune explained herself. Why isn't he attacking? He's had more than enough time to gauge the situation, even in his current state. So why is he just standing there, she said. Returning their stares toward Naruto, Tsunade and Jiraiya understood where Shizune was coming from. She's right, if Naruto wanted to lead a direct attack, he would have done so already. But just look at him, it's like he's driving himself mad simply by sitting there. What is he waiting for? Jiraiya thought. All Tsunade did was stare at the crazed boy in silence, constantly thinking how if she only knew when it mattered the most, she probably could have stopped any of this from happening. But she knew. She knew that she had to stop him here and now, or things would get much, much worse. Suddenly, without the slightest hint of warning of any sort, the cubified Naruto unleashed a tremendous, inhuman roar of an epic magnitude, sending the vibrant rumbles of his voice echoing throughout the area. In time, the echoes were quelled, and all was silent. Well, what the hell was that all about? Anko inwardly questioned. Kakashi cursed out of the blue. What's the matter? Guy asked in a sudden worry. Kakashi withdrew a kunai from his holster while inwardly smacking himself for not seeing this sooner. It's so obvious, now, that's why he's not attacking, he was biding his time, waiting for the right opportunity to do this, he said as he pieced everything together. Biding his time. What a talking abo. Anko was completely interrupted by the ear-grating sounds of screeching howls radiating from the corridors of the surrounding area. Get ready, you two, things are about to get dicey, Kakashi warned. Right as they were warned, Anko and Guy felt the presence of several chakra signals. Realizing at that exact moment what their fellow Jonin meant, they withdrew their weapons as well, and prepared for an all-out war. Startled by the sudden ruckus, Shizune, Jiraiya and Tsunade peered around the open area to detect any source of it, then they saw them. Seeping out of the corners and rooftops of the surrounding buildings, were hundreds upon hundreds of Naruto's bloodthirsty clones, stamping toward the central building like pit bulls after a big juicy steak. They didn't hesitate and they didn't stop. They had only one goal in their sights, and the time was Shay. Holy effin' ass crackers, Anko cursed through her unyielding shock and fright. How? When did he form this many? Guy wondered. Quote. He didn't. When they retreated, or so it seemed, they went into hiding so that the others couldn't detect them. From there on, they multiplied, using Kage Bushin all on their own, Kakashi said. What? They can do that. Buckle up, cause it gets better. When the clones that were originally summoned scattered throughout the village, it seemed as though they'd stop at nothing to kill everyone they could, but it was all a ruse, a deceitful trick. Oh, wait a second, I think I get it now, Anko chimed in. When he sent his clones all over the place, he knew that the others would split up and try to stop them. Once we were scattered about, they went into hiding and multiplied so that they could get the jump on a single target with limited interference. That's when Guy finished piecing it together. I see. So he gave us all the slip, made it seem like his true motive was killing the people, when in reality, he was really after. So this is why Kage Bushin is a forbidden technique. The crazed clones continued their mad rampage toward the central building, as the real Naruto was at last prepared to attack, and he didn't hesitate. With fang and blade prepped, Naruto threw all caution and care to the wind, and made an insanely tremendous leap toward his target. With the sudden cloud of death steadily converging upon them all, Shizune could easily admit that she was rather nervous, and along the line, had to ask herself. This ruthless tactic, is it Naruto-kun's doing, or Kuro's? She questioned. Jiraiya turned toward Tsunade. You know what we have to do, he said. Tsunade felt bad enough, so dragging the moment on any longer wouldn't serve her in any way. Both Sanin vanished out of sight. Seeing this, Naruto grunted in confusion, as he wildly searched for his missing target. But his search would not last. His body was viciously snatched out of the fray as Jiraiya tackled him from the air. Crashing straight onto the ground, Naruto writhed and struggled against Jiraiya's hold. Let go, he roared. Sorry, Gaki, but this is for your own good. It was then that Tsunade appeared before Naruto, and he completely lost it. He flailed and shouted until his voice hoarse out and drool hung from his mouth. His target was now right in front of him, and there wasn't a single thing he could about it. Tsunade's heart ached for the boy before her, never truly wanting to go through with what she was about to do. But no matter how much she wished that things were different, no matter how much she wanted to know how to save him, there was no escape from the fate that was dealt to Naruto. A painfully repetitive montage of Nekoshi's last words to her played through her mind, and she simply had to ask herself, was she truly ready, much less willing, to let it all go? God damn you, Kuro. God damn you to hell for making me do this, Tsunade inwardly cursed. Knowing that further hesitation could lead to more madness, the blonde Sanin swallowed the gaggle of her sorrow, and formed several hand seals. Tsunade's hands glowed brightly, signifying the end of this ordeal. Solidifying his hold, Jiraiya kept Naruto as still as possible. Do it, Tsunade. With a heavy heart, Tsunade gently placed her hands upon Naruto's head, driving the Jinchuriki even wilder. But once again, hesitation set in, and she stared into the boy's blackened eyes one last time, feeling her heart breaking over what had to be done. Her hands began to shake as she remembered all of Naruto's dreams, and how they were now, forever, out of his reach. I'm so sorry. Ninpo, Mirai no Jisatsu. Suddenly, a blinding bright flash of light exploded throughout the area, followed by an ear-piercing scream. The swarm of Kage Bushin that were now only mere feet from the Jonin standing adamantly before the central building, Kakashi, Anko, Guy and Shizune, simultaneously vanished from existence, expelling a thick fog over the entire area like a tsunami. After shielding themselves from it, the Jonin frantically peered around the lingering fog. Gone. What happened? Shizune questioned. Gasp. Oh. No. Kakashi exclaimed before rushing off from the group. After exchanging short glaces to each other, the others followed suit, having to rely on their other senses to maneuver inside the fog. After only a few short seconds, Kakashi made his way out of the fog and spotted the two Sanin, and his fallen student. Naruto. As he arrived to the scene, the silver-haired copy ninja fell to his knees and cradled Naruto into his forearms to examine his condition. When he saw a familiar kanji symbol upon his forehead, his expression fell a bit. The two Sanin stared down at Kakashi with a look of pity. You used the Mirai no Jisatsu on him. Why? There was other way, Kakashi, lest we allowed him to roam around like this, Jiraiya said. Tsunade Simple stared at the ground, unable to say anything to the Jonin. I understand that this technique was once used on Kuro to prevent him from attaining any more power, but this is the only time we've ever used it on a human subject. The results are fatal. It was the only way to break Kuro's hold over him, Jiraiya explained. Kakashi fell silent after that. He stared unto his student's peaceful form for a moment longer, feeling sadness and guilt well up inside of him. A short time afterwards, all the Jonin that were involved in the whole ordeal arrived to the scene one by one, and beheld what had transpired. With the way it all looked, they assumed that the Sanin were responsible for the silence. Is he? Not yet, but he will be. Watching the event unfold from atop one of the nearby buildings, the discreet and observant Gigi hummed to himself in wonder. So, you've decided not to give up on him after all, Suheim, he said. With things going the way they were, Gigi knew that his role in this play would soon reach its climactic turn point sooner than later, a fact that tickled Irony's judgment. To think, everything that has happened recently has led up to this point. Fate can really be a ball buster. Wouldn't ya say, father? As Gigi prepared for departure, he saw the rest of the Rookie 9 graduates gather at the scene as well, making him cringe on the inside. That Ino and Sakura ain't gonna like this. Nope, not one bit, he murmured before leaving. Bordering walls of Konoha, Kitsune, standing in the exact same spot since her time with Naruto, crossed her arms as she waited patiently for her companion's arrival. As if reading her thoughts, the said warrior arrived to the scene, standing right beside her. Okay, I'm back, babe. Did everything go as planned? Yep. Tsunade-sama's decision will shape the future of this village. Either way, they're all doomed. Although, I must admit, we can't expect to make any unhindered progress with the old man around. Sometime or another, we'll have to find a way to take him out, Nekoshi said. Sigh. I know. Nekoshi gave Kitsune a concerned stare. Something troubles you greatly. It's the pink one, Kitsune said. You mean the Haruno Rosette? What about her? She find new ways to please her man and her woman at the same time. Hey. I'm serious, Nekoshi. This is a major problem. The white-haired veteran shot his fellow warrior a look. Well, are you gonna enlighten me or what? He pried. Nekoshi, she's a week and a half pregnant. Nekoshi's body stiffened as he retained his facial expression. Quote. I swear to God, if it's not one thing it's always a thing nother, he cursed at this grave turn of events. We both know who the father is. We can't afford to let this situation develop. If either Sakura or Naruto finds out, it could ruin everything, or at least make things more complicated than they need to be. Of all times. Kitsune tucked threads of her blue hair behind her ear as she turned away from the village. We have to go, love, there's much more planning and buffering to be done, she said. Yeah, I hear ya. First order of business, recruit Naruto Uzumaki. Second, K the unborn embryo. With yet another phase of the plan complete, Nekoshi and Kitsune prepared to depart from Konoha for a while. That is, until Nekoshi abruptly stopped. I totally forgot, he shouted out of the blue, startling his lover half to death. What is it? Without answering, the wily man pulled out a kunai from his coat and flipped it in the air, throwing it with all of his might after he caught it. That takes care of that. Alright, let's go. Not until you explain that, Kitsune demanded. Oh right, let's just say that Sasamfuma is no longer a factor in the plan. It was then that Kitsune remembered that particular little problem wasn't taken care of the day before. Smiling at Nekoshi's attitude toward the matter, despite the situation, she shook her head and leaped out of the fray, and he followed suit. The end. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.